I'm interested to see actually no Kai'Sa ban here from Fnatic. They are accepting that Kingzone can first pick that right now if they want to.
They've now learned Kog'Maw, great counter pick to the Kai'Sa, so perhaps they're more than comfortable with a couple of answers that they have prepared. But when you look across the board with all the junglers that have been banned away, I'm curious as to what the early priority does come out for Kingzone.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Kai'Sa left up and not taken away. And as we did see yesterday, as you said, the Kog'Maw was effective into it, but we have to remember that it's also a lot about the support matchup. In the LPL playoffs, for example, Uzi was playing Kai'Sa into Kog'Maw and winning thanks in part to a ranged support, against the melee support. We saw Kai'Sa picked 3 straight times in the finals for Kingzone. They made it work in lane every time, so it's not as if it's just an auto-concede lane. It becomes a lot about the support matchup and how you're able to play around that lane with jungle pressure.
This has Tristana there.
This is such a big pick for Fnatic and Fnatic fans to see. Like, when this man locks in Tristana, like, he changes his playstyle completely. So far, he's been unrivaled in Europe, but on the international stage, I don't know if he's going to have the same kind of laning phase that he would typically get.
And Xayah Rakan is left open. Rakan had been banned every single game on day 1, and Kingzone is going to get one of the most dominating early game laning duos, in the game against Tristana, who can really struggle in those early minutes.
If you're a Fnatic fan, you have to hope Rekkles has stepped up his laning from yesterday, because yesterday it was abysmal. 50 CS behind Uzi, losing out in that second matchup as well. He needs to be stronger. He is on a comfort pick, as you said, Vedius.
But now for Kingzone, they've drafted themselves typically a winning top lane matchup with the Sion. And if you're Kingzone, you can just ban away the Cho'Gath now, which is another one of Bwipo's comfort champions. You also have winning bot. And if you want to, you can round your composition out with a Karma mid. And Kingzone have drafted themselves a very similar composition from yesterday, where a lot of the emphasis comes on Prey and enabling him to be the big carry.
I'm definitely expecting Fnatic to take away perhaps the Olaf also, as jungle hasn't been selected for Peanut. They're taking away the Sejuani, the Olaf is gone, so maybe taking even another pick away, trying to keep Peanut down, because I really do feel when you're giving up bot lane priority in this 2v2, you need to be able to have some strong lanes, you need to be able to have a jungle who can actually track and interact with Peanut, because Peanut is so dominating in his early game play and how he controls the map. We saw even yesterday, if you give him an inch, he will take a mile, and when your lanes are already being pushed in, that can result in dives. That can result in towers going down.
So what have we got left up for these two teams? Top lane and mid for Fnatic. Wonder which they'll leave for the last pick there. Kingzone still have possibly a mid laner in the form of Sion. Could be a flex pick, and their jungler left to pick.
I feel like that if you're Fnatic right now, you just go for something safe like the Ornn or the Cho'Gath. You have a safe tank top lane matchup. Take Bwipo off the carries and putting on something that he's had a little bit more success with during the playoffs. And now if you're Kingzone, it's about where you go for with your jungle, because I feel like you don't really have that many options left.
Yeah, I mean, there is Zac. There are still things that are kind of more flavor picks for Peanut, things like the Lee Sin, the Nidalee. There's different options depending on if they want to tank. The Zac does make the most sense. I also really do like leaving counter pick for Caps. Last pick for him, as he was far and away the best performing member from Fnatic yesterday. If there was a way perhaps for Fnatic to beat Kingzone, it could be Caps, creating that pressure as he was able to against Xiaohu, really dominating perhaps in a side lane 1v1.
So what's a Kingzone pick here? Because I was thinking the Vladimir, it gives you the double flex possibility, and it means Caps might have a hard time picking for that mid lane. I
feel like that with a Vladimir, the safest pick here for Fnatic is the Cassio.
Yeah,
I feel like it does pretty well into the Vlad, and it will do fine into the Sion, and it synergizes quite nicely with the composition that they've drafted for themselves with good Baron setup and a pretty strong scaling composition overall.
I do think it can be really strong. The only kind of fear for me if you go Cassio is, have you picked too much scaling against a Xayah Rakan and then, this explosive early game, so they may want to go for a bit of a different option, and the Swain would be a different spin on that. Like Corki as well does give you some more early game power, which I think can be pretty beneficial. You can't concede all lanes. You can't kind of just sit back and wait too long against Kingzone, because they will choke you out. So certainly Caps on the Corki, especially with package, the ability to actually move out on the side lanes, look for roams, look for plays alongside perhaps Broxa hitting level 6 could be pretty powerful. But my big concern for Fnatic is really looking at Prey and Gorilla, because that is a lane that can dominate. That is a lane that can take over the game. The Xayah Rakan is going to be looking to push in and punish Fnatic's underperforming bottom lane.
And you talked, Medic, about the flexibility of the Sion and the Vladimir, and it looks like the Kingzone are going to do that as we pass the 20-second mark. Those are the champions that have been locked in. We will have Khan on the Vlad, And typically into a tank matchup, Khan feels a lot more comfortable when he's playing these carries. And for BDD, he's more than happy to just sit in mid, push, and maybe even roam towards the bot side of the map. You have that ulti to very easily roam between the side lanes, and he can match caps every single time he picks himself up that package.
And you have to just remember how dominating Khan is on the carry picks. When you add in yesterday's victory on Camille, he's 24-1 in 2018 on carries. He just doesn't lose. And, you know, Vladimir into Ornn can be a pretty nice matchup, so we'll see how he's going to be able to handle that.
Fnatic need to be able to play around the fact that their bot lane is losing. We expect to see a lot of pressure down there from Kingzone. Is it just going to be a repeat of yesterday for Fnatic? Is it going to be a repeat of yesterday for Kingzone as well? Because they have looked absolutely unstoppable already here at MSI. We're going to jump onto the Summoner's Rift. This game 1 of the second day. Kingzone looking to continue their unbeaten streak. Fnatic looking to grasp a win from nowhere.
It's going to be really interesting to see what BDD chooses to go as far as the build, because Sion traditionally does love to rush banner in these AP matchups, and while it is, you know, an AD carry, he deals 80-90% magic damage as the Corki, so you still can actually just rush a straight up banner, because even the auto attacks really can't take it down. So I think banner rush is exceptionally effective there, and you know, while Corki can be a strong early pick, you may struggle once that banner is completed to have lane priority.
And I feel like he's noticed that, but we've got to keep a look at this level 1 from Fnatic.
Prey face check straight into the bush. Fnatic looking for the flash forward. Hylissang there as well. The decimating smash is big, but Prey cannot escape. Fnatic get burst blood. Now BDD needs to run for the hills. Hylissang will have the Winter's Bite back up. Flash from BDD.
Fnatic with the creative level 1 plays, find Prey out of position and take away his flash. We talked about how Kingzone, they have the strong 2 versus 2 and they want to take advantage of that. With a flashless AD carry, this will make it so much harder for Kingzone to get that early advantage.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes so difficult to actually push up aggressively, and they're trying to continue the play. They are camped out here. Gorilla is spotted on ward. If he gets tagged, he could be going down too.
He's able to jump away with the grand entrance, gets himself to safety for the time being, but Fnatic will be able to steal away this red from this invade.
You can see that Bwipo, he has actually moved towards his own topside jungle. He's dropped a ward on his red buff, and Fnatic want to make sure that they have the jungle advantage over Peanut.
I mean, this is just honestly an incredible start here for Fnatic, especially if Broxa can actually get over to his own red buff and prevent any potential trades. He's taking away the Raptors, he's already stolen away the red, and I mean, Prey, face checking in, Braum's level 1 is so exceptionally strong, not knowing where they are, that does seem like a little bit of a loss of focus there from him, and you know, not only giving up the flash, but BDD loses his flash. They give up first blood. That now changes how they can play bottom lane. There's so many kind of snowfalling implications. The dominoes start to come into effect.
And a couple of things that have happened as a result of that. You can see Bwipo already picking himself up a bit of health very early on with the first blood gold. He doesn't need to back because he's Ornn, so one of the most efficient people that can spend that early gold will help him out a little bit in terms of this 1 versus 1. And again, we have to go back to this bot lane because look who has the push right now. Fnatic were the duo that are able to get to lane first and are able to have a little bit more control, and they can mitigate this level 2, level 3 power spike that Prey and Gorilla will have on the levels duo.
And it's also how Reckless in particular loves to play his Tristana lanes. He's one of the only guys who consistently is rushing Berserker Greaves, you know, emphasizing getting attack speed to always have the push to kind of invalidate some of the trading advantages that something like a Zyrakan would have, because if you're always pushed under your turret, you can't always, you know, engage and get those fights.
And it's such a difference from yesterday. Yesterday, Reckless only spent 7% of the early game past the halfway point in the lane. He only had a 7% forward percentage. Absolutely passive in that lane. You can see he was down in CS, he was down in damage as well, compared to his regular performance in the EU LCS.
And I think it's so important to highlight the difference, because this is why so many European fans are hyped up about Reckless. He's had one of the best splits that he's had for such a long time. He's been very dominant domestically, but then he comes onto the MSI stage and he gets absolutely obliterated. And to come into day 2 with a very good start, that will spark a lot more confidence in the fans here in the studio.
Definitely will, but it's just such a tough tournament for these AD carries.
Sure.
There's so many amazing players. These bot lanes, it's not even just the individuals, work so well together that if you are not on your A game, it's going to be extremely difficult to compete. But with Broxa out to an early level lead, you can look and think, get level 6, maybe try to make a play.
And now my eyes are on Peanut as to what he will be able to do, because the thing with Zac is you do sacrifice a lot of your own health when you're clearing through the jungle, so typically you can be regularly invaded on. And by stealing away the first red, oh, we don't have time because Broxa's going for a gank in mid.
Looking for the gank on BDD, no flash on that Sion, does get the slow. Flash in though, Boxer gets the stun lock, BDD caught out at the tower. Fnatic gets second kill of the game. There's a fight in the bottom lane as well. Reckless is low, Ignite down on him, he has to flash heal away, but the chase is in. The Gleaming Quill from Gorilla hits home, and now Hylissang has to run for the hills as well.
Yeah, and the bottom lane for Kingzone just striking back, getting so much there from themselves. Despite being down a summoner, they get the 2v2 kill. But Brock's a good job following up on the level 1 play. They knew BDD's flash was down. They commit to that. Getting a kill on Caps certainly going to be big. But it is concerning to see that 2v2 death for Fnatic when you were the ones that had the summoner advantage.
And it's so good for Kingzone's bottom lane. We didn't get to see it on screen, so let's see how it kicked off. Reckless gets knocked up. Very, very clutch from Gorilla there. He thinks that he's out of range. But then just before he gets stunned, he's able to land the Q. And the all-in level 3 power spike, I said how it would be mitigated, not from this Kingzone duo. They always find a way back in.
Yeah, and Hylissang just wasn't in position to actually block the feathers, the pullback there. So the root following up onto Reckless is almost a guaranteed death with the Ignite being dropped down. And you know, Kingzone just showing why they are considered to be the best bot lane in the world. You know,
and even though Fnatic were able to find a kill in the middle lane, Prey comes back to lane with a BF sword. 5 minutes into the game, we talked so much about how this 2v2 is going to be so pivotal for Kingzone, and now they have full control of what looked like a terrifying start.
Summoner advantage now for Prey as well in that lane. They've got the heal, they've got the flash on the AD carry, so Kingzone can look to be aggressive in that bottom lane. We saw yesterday against Team Liquid, they fell behind a couple of kills, but you can never count Kingzone out. At any moment, they can strike and collapse on any mistake you make.
Yeah, definitely the case, and I'm going to be very interested to track kind of some of the build options here for Khan to see what he's going to elect to do. This is a guy who can really take over a game, and to see if he's going to go for early Shirelias or mix it up a little bit, try to prioritize more something for the 1v1 can be pretty interesting.
Have to keep our eyes on that top lane. It's been pretty quiet up to now. Somewhere that hasn't been quiet is that jungle position. Brock's actually a 2-level advantage over Peanut here. Has that ultimate available as well.
We've seen early ganks from Broxer. We've seen so many jungle camps being stolen away from Zach. And one of the big things that we on the desk talked about yesterday was, can you keep Peanut down? So far in this game, Broxer has found a nice advantage, but the bottom lane of Fnatic is starting to struggle as Hylissang getting zoned away from his lane. But here they are again, onto this red buff.
Push in that bottom lane. Broxer coming up. You can see Caps coming down from the middle lane as well. Fnatic are in the lead at the moment. 1,000 gold ahead, and they can make plays like that because of it. But you do have to remember that AD carry disparity.
And you can see Caps kind of cheating towards the bottom side of the lane. So is BDD. They're getting ready to come down if a fight were to break out.
Broxer does smite away the red. No fight for now. Kingzone seems to be willing to give up that red buff. Have a little bit of a peak, but don't really need to contest for it. And now Fnatic actually, with the river control, are going to start up the ocean.
The whole setup here for Fnatic was very clean in the way in which they gradually got deeper and deeper vision, because Reckless, you talked about Azale, the rush for attack speed, that's triple daggers in lane for Reckless, and he just tried to get this push in as quickly as possible, just as the red buff respawned. So clearly a well thought out plan, which Fnatic, with good vision control, have successfully executed.
And I think Fnatic have done a fantastic job of capitalizing on that early mistake, really kind of snowballing their advantage. And all of their advantages really have come from that level 1 and the kind of follow-up plays that they have made. Now getting this Ocean Dragon, which is, I think, the strongest dragon in the game if you get it this early, can really help you out in the laning phases, makes it so hard to poke you out, especially someone like Whippo who's already going to be working towards that Abyssal. For Vladimir to really be able to kind of push you out becomes that much harder.
Whippo trading into Khan in the top lane as well. Khan still hasn't backed, of course, so sitting on a bunch of gold up there. Fnatic have actually one-upped any of Kingzone's opponents from day one. No one got an Ocean Drake against them yesterday. Today, Fnatic have got one.
Bright side.
Right? No Ocean Drake spawned in their games, but still, the statistics stands.
We take that.
Yeah, we take that. Anytime Western team can win out on anything, that's what we're taking at the moment. Fnatic, though, taking an advantage in the top lane as the Call of Portugal comes out. Whippo just trying to keep Khan around for the moment.
And this is just really nice. He's trying to delay the back, not really looking for a kill there. No, he has the lane advantage, got the first blood, has the Orm passive to kind of craft those items in lane, and as such, he's keeping his opponent pushed in, and Brox is moving up here.
Flashing from Whippo with the slow. Gets the Bella's Breath out as well. Peanut here is level 6. BDD on his way as well. Whippo, no flash on him, of course. There's the suppression, but it's only onto Peanut, and Brox has gone way too far. Here comes the Corki, though. One on Khan. Peanut goes into the globules as well. BDD's going to fight off Whippo and Caps. Trying to catch on towards that. Zach able to get the double. Caps secures it, and Kingzone are forced back in the top lane.
Initially, it looked very good for Kingzone as they flashed this Broxer underneath this tower. But with the package, with the arrival of Caps, Fnatic are able to turn around, and they get a 2-for-1.
I mean, that was just an incredible roam from Caps. You know, picking up where he left off yesterday, playing so well, and Whippo doing such a good job being able to kind of continue that pressure, delay the base for Khan, buy time for Broxer to get up there, and this is just great early game play from Fnatic.
You talked about it, Azael. It's the power of Caps to roam around the map as well. BDD was there first, but Caps with the package was able to collapse and get those kills in the top lane.
And I feel like we got to credit Whippo here because this all started with the good trades and the lack of ability for Khan to be able to go back to base. You saw Caps roaming behind Broxer, and while BDD and the rest of Kingzone did their best to punish Broxer, they cannot do much about the flanking package, the fact that they did not have Flash to get out of that situation, and the fact that Fnatic, they just had the item advantage and they had the damage needed to secure themselves the kills.
And it shows a lot of foresight, you know, knowing they can go that deep because they have the package, because Caps is on the roam. The communication certainly is there so far for Fnatic, but has to be said, you know, the bottom lane still in a good position here for Kingzone. The gold lead has certainly not gotten out of hand by any means. So Fnatic need to continue this pressure. They need to continue creating advantages because you can never sit back and rest on your laurels against a team like Kingzone. One mistake can mean they're back in the lead.
Exactly that. We saw yesterday when they went up against Team Liquid how effectively they punished one slight mistake where Team Liquid tried to go for 2 objectives, Kingzone stopped both of them, and then they took 3 towers immediately off the back of that. So Fnatic, even with a good early lead, you can never count this Kingzone squad out.
And we have to know, now that the banner is completed here for BDD, this is something that can kind of lock you into your own lane as Caps, because there's always going to be pressure on your turret if you don't actually, you know, have yourself there to deal with it. Yes, he has the minion tier materializer, but still, it's going to do a lot of damage if you ever leave a lane and a cannon pops up.
I see Khan is going towards that Shurelias. We wondered exactly how he'd build on this Vladimir. Shurelias works in teamfights, kind of works in the lane as well, gets you there a little bit quicker, means that if you ever catch Bwipo out, you can chase him down pretty effectively.
Now I'm looking also like this Kingzone early game. They're at a slight deficit right now, 1.4k gold behind. And the one thing I would have said was that when you have a Zyra Khan up against a Tristana Braum, how much of a free laning phase will Rekkles be able to get? Because in Europe, he got it all the time. Teams could not successfully play around it, they could not punish it, and they would just do their best to lose gracefully. At least that's what you'd expect on the international stage. Now, to be fair, Prey and Gorilla have barely touched the tier 1 tower in the bottom lane. If we just pan over and look at its HP, due to the rush of attack speed from Rekkles and Hylissang, they've just kept this wave pushed up as much as possible. And I feel like a large part of that is because Peanut has struggled to have any kind of impact so far in this game.
Alongside that, Fnatic are forcing players on the top side of the map, keeping people away from that bottom lane, forcing Peanut to have to react to Brox's consistent invades and Caps roams.
And it's really interesting because so much of that is just from the pre-game planning from Fnatic. They get the level 1 kill, they force out a flash from the mid laner. That means they can take away jungle camps. That puts Peanut behind. That makes the 2v2 play more passively. So there's all these things that are just kind of interconnected, but Kingzone certainly, you know, at their 1 item power spikes, I think are going to be a lot stronger, especially from the bottom side of the map. So we may look to see them forcing around an objective once Prey completes his first item.
It looks like the Ocean Drake is probably going to be the objective they play towards. 30 seconds before that is up. Getting a couple early for Fnatic would be a boon, especially for Bwipo in that top lane, but you have to expect Kingzone to start to pull the trigger at some point.
And again, look at this from Fnatic. 3rd red buff in a row that they're playing for. Caps already in the lane.
Flash pull back with a great let's bounce from Peanut, gets him away. He flashes as well. BDD now coming up from the mid lane. Hylissang's there as well. BDD may just need to run away from this one. Broxer on the wrong side. Teleport coming in from Khan. Kingzone want this fight. We said they would force, and they're forcing straight on towards the Skarner. He's dead in the jungle. Kingzone capitalized. Khan, though, might be a little bit caught out here by Caps. Hylissang brings down the Fisher to the face and gets the kill.
Really nicely done, honestly, by Fnatic. They don't even TP in their top laner. They trade for kills. Very well done. We'll see now if they can actually try to play for this dragon, because Khan is going to have to be pulled back up to the top side of the map. Whippo will have his teleport to join, and Khan will not.
And that top tower, we have to check out how low that is getting, because Whippo, he's just been free to hit down on it now. Only about 40% of its HP. This could have been a huge punish for Kingzone. taking advantage of the fact that Broxah had no flash, but the rest of Kingzone, they split. And that right there was the big issue for Khan, because he was left in a 1v2 scenario against a Corki that has a Trinity Force before 15 minutes.
You've got to say, though, Peanut played that pretty damn well.
He did.
Using the ultimate to actually essentially immune Broxah's ultimate and pull him back in with him was pretty sick. But this could just be...
Could just be first brick for Bwipo in the top lane.
He's just going to get it. I mean, you could probably just tank up the Vladimir at this point, get those last couple hits in.
Final auto, Bwipo gets the solo gold as well and forces Khan low. Knows there's no Hemoplague, knows there's no flash, can just harass in this lane. Let's have another look at that fight.
Yeah, and here it is one more time. This is Broxah already having fought, but Khan TPing in from behind, just isolated. And really, the Ignite is so clutch there, limiting the healing. Caps has so much damage, and him and Hylissang collapsing on that teleport, not allowing themselves to get flanked was really good.
And before the game, we talked about how there was a bot lane focus for Fnatic, getting Reckless to a position where he could carry again. Caps would be the stalwart presence who makes the plays, but you have to bring attention to Bwipo. We thought there would be a massive skill disparity between Bwipo, who's never played internationally, and Khan. There's going to be a fight down here in the bottom lane. Bwipo is the one teleporting in.
Already.
Call of the Forge God, the horn comes out, the pain train lands, only onto the Rakan though. Gorilla caught there, the package in, Prey flashes away, but Caps still on the chase. Gorilla's going to sacrifice himself, and Fnatic capitalize in the bottom lane.
They utilize the TP advantage that Bwipo gained after Khan tried to collapse down in the river. In the top side of the map, Khan is doing his best to try and retaliate, but Fnatic, they find themselves more kills in the bottom side of the map, but it looks like they won't get any further objectives.
Yeah, and Vladimir is not really the one to punish a roam. Turret damage is pretty poor. Zac as well, so Peanut's trying to trade back on the top side, looking for this Rift Herald, but Caps teleporting back in. They're aware of it and just going to straight up push them off. They're so much stronger right now on the top side of the map.
And what a difference this is from Fnatic for day one early game performances. They were about 1,000 gold behind at the 15-minute mark. This game, they're 3,000 ahead. Compare that to Kingzone, they averaged 3,000 ahead themselves on day one.
And this is simply Bwipo coming in from the flank. It's always going to be difficult to kill Prey when he has all of his summoner spells available. He has the ulti too, but the fact that they force so much out of him means that coming into the next couple of team fights, Fnatic are going to be in a much better position. And even though they don't drop that bot lane tower, mid is extremely low, bot is extremely low, and Kingzone, they're on the back foot.
Bishop used on BDD just to slow him up. He's going to run away. And that's the mid lane tower going down. Bot lane, you have to think, is the next focus for Fnatic.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, it's extremely low, and Kingzone are going to have to kind of buy a little bit at a time, start to scale up, because really, Khan is kind of struggling on the top side of the map, and it's going to be Bwipo looking to move around, force fights, and try to keep up this pace before they can really buy that time.
Because when we look at Kingzone's composition, and you mentioned scaling, it's quite an interesting comp that they have, because when you think of Xayah, she does have good scaling, but relative to someone like a Tristana, you're always going to say that the Tristana will have the stronger late game. But when you tie that Xayah in with a Vladimir and the front line of a Sion, this team fighting capability of Kingzone is very strong, along with their ability to play a 1-3-1 style.
And how incredible the combos can be in a team fight here. When you land that elastic slingshot from a Zac, into the Silent Ultimate, into the Decimating Snatch, into the feathers getting pulled through for a root. Like, there's so much hard engage. So, while if Reckless and Caps can stay free in a team fight, they can put out a tremendous amount of damage. If you get caught by any part of that combo, you will get caught by everyone else's CC and go down immediately.
And the one thing we can always say about Kingzone is their team fighting is immaculate. They fell down multiple times against a Freak of Freaks in their finals, yet it was the team fighting prowess and their ability to play around these neutral objectives that got them back into the game. And that's one of the scariest things about this team. Even with a big lead, teams have to continuously play at their A game, otherwise Kingzone will find the small windows to punish.
And that's why I think it's so important for Fnatic to not only keep vision control, but to be the ones that are initiating the fight, to put them on the back foot, so they are dictating the pace of the game.
You can see Fnatic trying to do that down towards this bottom lane. Now, we talked a lot about the fact that Kingzone want to scale. Kingzone will be looking for these certain item points, but exactly where are they going towards? When can they take that big team fight? What's the next objective for them?
If you're Kingzone, well, right now you just kind of have to mitigate the fact that all your outer towers are going to drop. And the thing is, when you have this kind of 1-3-1 style comp, ideally you want to have a lead, but Khan, he's been at such a deficit, he hasn't been able to fight. Now we see a fight.
A big fight coming out. Call of Forge got used. Whippo there misses it, but in the midst of it all is Gorilla. He's the first to go down. Now they're going to jump on Prey. Fnatic find the fight in the jungle. This is the Fnatic we saw in the EU OCS split. Team fights, skirmishes. That's exactly what they can do. Khan's in the midst of it all, but the Hemo player only hits onto Reckless, and now Khan has fallen. Kingzone collapse in their own jungle, and Reckless and Caps are not done yet. The chase onto BDD, unable to connect with the stun, will force him back underneath his tower.
This is a huge fight for Fnatic, but the question is, what can they get off the back of it? It's all well and good getting kills, but if you're not gaining more control over the map, or it doesn't really result in a huge amount. So they steal away the red buff, they're able to push in a couple of waves, and if they secure this Rift Herald, it sets up nicely for that tier 2 moving forward.
And it's honestly looking like Kingzone are just so unaccustomed to being behind. I mean, they have a legendary early game, and honestly quite a bit of overcommitment to that fight. When Gorilla and Prey are already down, why is Khan flashing into the midst of that fight, trying to pull that off? It just seems like it's way too much.
So there was half a second between the Rift Herald despawning and the Baron coming in there. Hylissang does pick it up, but as you say,
Calculated.
Yeah, Kingzone are doing what EVOS did yesterday. They're taking fights from behind and losing them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at the state of the fight, right? You know, the TP in from Khan is great to try to join, but once Gorilla is down, once Prey is down, you just have to cut your losses, right? You have BDD flashing over the wall. How are you going to save that person? And Khan, where is the damage going to be in a 3v5 with 2 tanks who are behind to win that, right? You know, that is just honestly poor play from the Kingzone top laner.
And I've just been so impressed with how Fnatic have controlled this red buff, because ad stats confirm for me that so far Peanut has only had 1 red buff this entire game. Fnatic multiple times have said, whenever their red buff spawns, we're going towards it. And Peanut just hasn't learned his lesson. We've seen 3 fights there now, and every single time it has gone in Fnatic's favor. 6,000 gold lead, they have full control over the map, and they are pressuring all 3 lanes.
And one of the biggest things is where that gold is actually placed. When you look at Caps, this early in the game, has an IE and his Trinity Force, his Sword Boots are already done. He is comically strong at this point in the game. Can certainly look to instantly burst down any of these squishy members. If Prey mispositions for 1 second and gets crit, a Trinity Force crit is going to be like 80% of his health.
This is where we have to see Kingzone have that legendary map play. They're behind, they have to find opportunities to pick off members of Fnatic, they have to find ways of not losing their base.
And the last time that Kingzone, formerly Longzhu, went up against Fnatic, it was a 20-minute stomp with a dancing Rift Herald in the base. Now we see an engage from Fnatic in mid.
Whipper from the side, Prey pops at the Feather Storm to get himself out alive, but that tower is going to fall before the TP can connect. Maybe Fnatic will want to continue the fight. Instead, they say, we'll just take the tower for now.
I mean, they're just extending this gold lead so large. Really, Kingzone is going to have to find a way to stall this out or to start getting some turrets. There's so much gold left on the map because they have not down any turrets. So if they were to win a fight, they can certainly very quickly close some of that lead. But as of now, it's certainly all Fnatic all the time. They just need to keep up the pace.
So now the priority for Kingzone is to get some vision control around Baron, because they're very aware that Fnatic's next objective will be the big purple worm. Once that is secured for Fnatic, the base will not survive very long for Kingzone. So by getting a bit of vision, their ability to contest still exists, and maybe Peanut can either find a steal or Kingzone can get a good fight. And
it's kind of that balance for Fnatic between not being too passive, not being too slow about taking the Baron, but also knowing that this is a combo-based AoE CC team coming out of Kingzone. If there were a place for Kingzone to win a fight on the map, it is in the Baron pit with the Vladimir, with all the CC coming out.
And I'm sure Fnatic are remembering the RNG game from yesterday when they started up a couple of Barons and fell because of it. They will be a little bit apprehensive about playing around that Baron against a team this strong, but what they're doing well is that vision control now.
And we've also got to remember that Fnatic's sitting on right now a 7,000 gold lead. So even with the comp of Kingzone, maybe they just feel so confident that they'll just try to force a fight anyway. Right now, their eyes are set on this tier 2 in the top lane.
Double AD carry takes down towers incredibly quickly. Khan is not here, has teleport if he wants to join the fight. There is a ward behind Fnatic as well.
Just going to use the Ornal to try to clear them off and pressure this turret.
Prey uses his own ultimate to keep himself alive. Tower goes down in the bottom lane. Gorilla there in the front line. BDD stunned up. Cap stepping forward, but they can't get the tower. There's no minions here for Fnatic.
It's good wave clear from Kingzone. They're just trying to buy time for Khan, and now Fnatic's likely going to have to send someone back for him, and this will diffuse a lot of the pressure.
And it looks like that the tier 2 does not go down for Fnatic, but the confident play coming out from Caps, we wanted to see more consistency from him, and we know that from the regular season, Corki was a champion that he often referred to. It was one of his most played, and it was something that he had a lot of success with, but then the meta shifted, and so many mid laners put a lot more value on things like the Azir and the Talia. Now he's brought it back. He's shown the consistency that he was able to show during the regular season.
You've also got to give so much credit to Bwipo going up against Khan on a carry. This guy is an absolute monster. You can see how much effect Bwipo has had in this game, and he is essentially a brick wall. I mean, he is sitting on Abyssal, Randuin's Frozen Heart. It's going to be so ridiculously hard for Prey to actually punch through him in a team fight, in addition to the fact that a Braum is going to be blocking so much of your damage.
Yep. You can see Reckless yet to really find full efficacy on that Tristana, sitting only at 3,000 damage at the moment. He's getting these items under his belt, Static Shift, Infinity Edge. This is where we need to see him as that second carry. Bwipo stepped up to the plate, but on a tank, he can't carry this team.
But he's on a champion that he is so much more comfortable on, and he's had a game where he's so much happy with. Outside of the death during the laning phase, I feel like he's much better set up to really play the style that he was so much more familiar with during the regular season.
And I'd honestly say, it doesn't actually matter if he does any damage to champions if you can just keep hitting the turrets.
That's
right?
very true.
Tristana is the Siege champion. If Kingzone cannot engage into you and take that fight, you don't need to look for the fight. You just need to continue pushing the pace, continue utilizing this as a turret destroyer, and that is going to be ridiculously strong. You know, rapid fire is done for Caps. That's going to be even more power in the team fights and more power for that turret. And Reckless has his now too. So these guys are legendarily strong at this point in the game.
And look at all the vision investment from Fnatic right now. So many controls have been picked up outside of Reckless. Shame on you, Reckless. Shame on you.
I like how you point at him. As though he's looking over. He's got to know. Okay.
He knows. But Fnatic are going to invest in this vision. And right now, Kingzone, they've just set up a very defensive line. You can see controllers littered right behind the entrances to a lot of their jungles to see how far Fnatic have really stepped in with regards to that vision, and ideally it provides them with a baseline so they can still move into parts of their jungle, and the risk of them getting picked off is much lower.
Teleport coming in top here from Bwipo, just going to join this fight for the moment. Voxer, Hylissang and Reckless are on their way across as well. Looking for that rapid fire shot on towards the tower from Reckless. That's another turret down. No inhibitor towers down yet, but Fnatic have cleared the rest of the map.
And look at the vision around this Baron. They are looking to force. That is Bwipo's TP, so they need to at least force the teleport out of Khan here. They are just baiting for now, but if you wait too long, you have to start.
Farsight Alteration will spot them out. Reckless just waiting for that vision to clear. They can start it up. Bwipo and Reckless, Caps and Brox are all there. Hylissang waiting in the wings. Peanut steps forward. Gorilla there as well. Fnatic playing around the Baron, but you can see the reaction, the suppression on Gorilla. He's down. Khan teleporting in. This is the fight that you have to win in your Kingzone, because otherwise Fnatic are going to take everything. BDD knocked away. Prey with the Feather Storm keeping himself alive. Look at the bottom side of this fight, because that's where Kingzone have to retreat to. Bwipo still in that front line, tanking up all the damage, forcing Kingzone away.
Bwipo doing so much work in the 1v2. He forces Prey back. Fnatic, they find a kill onto Gorilla, and they have their eyes set on the Baron.
Peanut can still steal here. Flash, smite, up for him. Bwipo forced away by Khan, but Khan now has to pop the Sanguine Pool. Box is taking it up. Prey is dead. Reckless jumps in. Peanut has to leap the hell away from there, and he's forced out. And now the Baron is Fnatic's. They can secure this one easily.
Fnatic doing such a good job around the Baron, pushing Peanut out, not giving any chance of a 50-50 there. They secure the Baron, they secure the kills, and they are so far ahead. They're on the verge of taking a game off of Kingzone here.
9,000 gold ahead here, Vedius. Fnatic are in a dominant position, but you can never make a single mistake versus Kingzone.
I mean, yes, but at this point, I feel like it would be very hard for Fnatic to lose.
Please don't say that.
No one has ever come back.
It's just, like, as good as Kingzone are, when you have a 9,000 gold deficit, and you have 2 items to the 3.5 on Caps and Reckless, like,
I'd like to remind you of SKT versus RNG at Worlds.
Okay.
Let's have another look at this bound.
So we see the setup, right? I love the flash in from Broxah to just take out one of the main engage tools from Prey, immediately putting them into a numbers disadvantage. Kingzone also gets split up, which is ideal for Caps and Reckless because the two big carries on the team can just work through one of the big frontliners, and then the new upcoming carry of the team, Whippo, is able to zone the rest of the team off. They're patient around the Baron, they find a clean secure, and now they're the ones splitting up the map.
And Whippo has picked up his own banner of command. They are getting Baron buff minions in all 3 lanes, pushing up, and someone is going to have to respond very quickly or they have to engage. There's not a lot of options here for Kingzone, so the mid 3 here for Fnatic need to play back and wait until you have vision on everyone else.
When we talked about the team fight and the engage from Kingzone, but my worry is Gorilla doesn't have a QSS, and oh no, he does have a QSS, but he doesn't have cleanse, so if he gets locked up in 2 forms of CC, he's never going to be able to get to that backline. Look for the Skarner suppression, look for the concussive blows coming out from Hylissang, because that's what's going to stop him in his tracks.
Now we see all 3 lanes. There's the engage just to zone away Khan from the tower.
That's the inhibitor tower down. Fnatic break open the base of Kingzone. Meanwhile, in the top side, that's where we're going to see Kingzone engage. Inhibitor's going to fall here. Caps was able to get away by himself from 3 members of Kingzone. In fact, all 4 of them there.
And look at the ultis that we use. Gorilla doesn't have his ult, BDD doesn't have his ult, Caps was forced to use his flash, but the fact that Fnatic were able to secure an inhibitor without losing anything means that they're going to have so much more of an easier time taking these next 2 inhibitors down.
And they still have a minute on the Baron buff. You can reset, you can get back out on the map and now look to pressure as a 5-man squad in the mid lane with double rapid fire AD carry. It is not going to take a lot to really knock down these inhibitor turrets.
And I find it fascinating that so much of the focus was put onto Reckless. Reckless, you need to step up. You're expected to be the secondary carry. You're the man that needs to work with Caps in order to find any sort of ability to win these games. But it is Whippo that is turning his performance around. It is Brox's early game that is finding those early ganks and denying Peanut the ability to have an impact. And Hylissang, his positioning and his involvement in these fights, this whole Fnatic squad is stepping up, and they're the ones in control against Kingzone.
They certainly are, but we do have to give that respect over to Kingzone to know that they can turn any game around. And we have to think now, what is the way for them to do it? And it's about denying visions, about finding that engage, and when it presents itself, there has to be no hesitation. So we need Gorilla, we need Peanut to be finding these picks, but Caps has relative safety with the package available, so he's not the one they're going to be able to look for, but you can't sit back now as Kingzone. You need to pull the trigger and win a fight instantly.
They have been in this sort of situation before, maybe not this split, but there are so many veterans on this team, so many experienced players. You only have to look at the bottom lane of Prey and Gorilla. 3 LCK championships together, multiple worlds appearances, and that's what Gorilla looks for with the engage. But Caps able to get away towards the backline. Fnatic in the midst of this all. Reckless is not there. BDD kills Hylissang. Bwipo having to run away here as well. Reckless is going for the mid lane inhib though. Prey's trying to answer him. It's AD versus AD for the moment, but Peanut has joined in as well.
Remember that earlier on, Caps was forced to use his flash, so he had to play extremely defensively in that fight. That meant that Hylissang had to be the defensive line, but even with an engage from Kingzone, Fnatic have too much pressure with the super minion.
Look at Peanut though, he's going to be able to cut off Bwipo and Broxah in the midst of this all. Prey chunked out, but Caps now caught up in that backline. Gorilla with a double knockout. The combo that we talked about from Kingzone is devastating. They do lose mid lane inhib to Reckless, who now needs to get out. They're going to lose Bwipo as well.
And this is the best case scenario for Kingzone, but they've lost so much as a result. They have no inhibitor towers left. They've lost 2 of their inhibitors to boot, and even a Nexus tower to add onto that. Fnatic, yes, they lost the fight, but they still have full control over this game.
Yeah, I mean, Kingzone played the fights very, very well there, but because Fnatic waited for the super minions to be pushing in the bottom lane, those were always going to be getting damage done, and it takes so long to punch through these tanky members like Whippo that bought time for Reckless to knock down an inhibitor here, and here's the fight once more.
So we can see, I feel like Fnatic, they overextended just a little bit in terms of committing to that inhibitor, and that does mean that Caps was in a position where even with his W, without a flash from the amount of engage tools that Kingzone did have, it made it easier to lock him down. And without a damage dealer, there's no way that they're going to be able to swing that fight around. So good fight there from Kingzone.
And it buys them some time, right? And the thing is here, you don't have to really leave your base as King Zone until the Baron is up, until the Elder is up. So that will get them to their next completed items, perhaps, and that is going to put them at a very powerful point in the game. Yes, Caps and Reckless are going to be ahead, but these carries are not going to be weak by any means on King Zone. With the right execution, one more team fight can buy you access, perhaps, to that Baron.
And I do feel that when you talk about their ability to teamfight, Khan is the man that I'm looking at. Level 18. He is now actually a level above Repo, and he's got a Death Cap plus Void Staff completed. This Vladimir is very, very strong. And if you're grouped up in a Baron with the additional damage that the Baron does do, this man could turn an entire fight on its head.
And you've also got to look then at Reckless, who has picked up no MR, no executioners for healing debuff there on the Vladimir, nothing like that. So he is certainly vulnerable if Khan can find him, but they are looking to push in and close this game out before that even has a chance.
Prey pops the Featherstorm once again. Fnatic 5-man in the top lane. King Zone trying to answer. So far behind, Gorilla jumps in but can't quite land the quickness. There's the Shurelius from Khan though, trying to get on towards that back line. Doesn't make the connection, and now Fnatic will redouble their efforts and push back in.
Remember, Fnatic don't have to force anything because the super minions are pushing in from 2 different lanes. That's the third inhibitor down. Fnatic is going to Nexus.
Getting shredded here, Vedius. Repo in the front line. Peanut jumps in, but that Nexus tower has to be the target here for Fnatic. They can't take it. No minions there yet. And King Zone able to defend for the moment.
But for how much longer? I mean, super minions coming from every lane, 2 at a time. There will be 6 per wave, essentially, here. And they stop the base of Whippo, so he's not able to TP and rejoin. But the Nexus turrets are gone. They are getting corralled into their base.
The Nexus is so close to falling. Fnatic, they could claim their revenge over King Zone and secure their first win of MSI. There's only a King Zone squad that stands in their way.
Only the back-to-back LCK champions in the way. Gorilla gets on that backline, but Caps is still alive. The Hemo Plague is huge here. Able to keep Caps up, though. Reckless in the midst of it all, getting a lot of damage down. Bripo forcing Prey out from the backline. Reckless drops away. Fnatic redouble their efforts, push back in. Caps gets one, Prey gets one, but BDD's the next to fall, and Fnatic can see the base. They can see it in their sights. Fnatic are gonna take the game. They'll kill the unkillable and take down King Zone.